has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
All right, Carver High, you got some NBA games to go through with me tonight.
We certainly do here with a Friday night, Scotty, for you in the NBA. Why don't we start in Philly, where the Pelicans are coming in to take on the Sixers. Pelicans minus 7.5, 222.5 is the total in this one. Of course, it's been a bad week for the Sixers, as we talked about yesterday. I mean, they've lost to teams like the Grizzlies and the Nets so far this week. So that doesn't bode very well with Zion and the Pelicans coming in.
Yeah, and he doesn't even matter. And I still like his game. No one can guard him. But to me, this is about Brandon Ingram can't be stopped. And he's just going to light them up till no tomorrow. I think the Pelicans roll the Sixers tonight in Philly. Everybody else has been beating them.
And no Maxey still for the Sixers, who has missed all these games this week. So that's a major problem for them. You weren't here the other day for this, too. I want to get your thoughts on it. Did you see Zion saying that he would do the dunk contest, but he has to be voted into the All-Star game? I thought one of the genius marketing moves of all time, because now everybody's going to vote for him next year because they want to see him in that dopey dunk contest. I thought it was extremely smart by him to do that.
Well, McClung has won it back-to-back, and I think people got excited the first time that he won it, and then this time they're like, oh, you mean the guy from the G League again won it? So I think they need someone like Zion to be in it to, bring the rack down like Shaq would. And I think that's what Zion would do. They can't have some guy, and I hate to say it, I like Mac McClung, but they can't have some guy like him winning it every year that nobody gives a rat's ass about. He doesn't even play in the league.
Zion is a guy that could get the dunk contest back. And he'd make probably other guys start doing it again if he had some kind of huge performance. So, and I think everybody's going to run and vote for him next year now, too. Whether he's injured, not injured, they're going to want him there. The hairdryer city game of the night is Charlotte and Washington in D.C. Friends and family only, Scotty, are going to be at this one. Hornets getting 2.5 here, 226.5. So the Wizards have lost like a billion games in a row, and they're 2.5-point favorites tonight. That's how much Charlotte sucks.
Well, I mean, they've lost 16 in a row. I just can't bet on them. I know people that are betting on them today, and that's a dangerous way to make a living, boy. All I know is I'm not betting on the Wizards ever, so I'll take Charlotte.
I would never bet on the Wizards as well for that one. Minnesota, we do welcome in all of our radio affiliates for our Coast to Coast on a Friday. Sirius XM, Channel 159, Sports Byline. Great to have everybody with us here today. We will go next, Minnesota and Cleveland tonight at the Q. Minus 2.5 for the Cavs, 206.5 is the total. Now, they did put Anthony Edwards as questionable with the ankle after last night. I mean, he did come back in the game and drop 44. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be all right to go tonight. For the Cavs, still no Mitchell, no Max Strus, no Evan Mobley for them, but they're 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah, Minnesota's better than Cleveland when their entire team isn't playing. And I don't believe for 1 minute Edwards isn't playing, so I'm on Minnesota.
The Magic are at the
and I bet the over, and I got that over at a ridiculous. It's 206 now, which is ridiculous. And the reason it's so low is because none of those guys are playing. I'm on Minnesota.
Yep. All right.
Over.
The Magic are at the Garden against the Knicks tonight. Knicks, of course, did not have Brunson the other night. They're still playing this game where he's listed as questionable. He's not going to play. The line's telling you that he's not going to play because the Magic now are 1.5-point favorites tonight against the Knicks. And how about this total, Sky? 204.5 for this one.
Yeah, I bet the over, and it was even higher. It was at 207 this morning, and now it's 204.5. So I like the over there. I got to tell you, the Knicks have looked awful lately with all these injuries. They've just looked awful. So they're going through it right now. And I think Banchero and Wagner and the Magic are going to be a problem for them tonight. I like Orlando.
I mean, the Magic give the Knicks a problem even when they're healthy. It feels like the Magic always give the Knicks a hard time. So I could probably see going with Orlando tonight there at the Garden. The Hawks are in Memphis against the Grizzlies. Hawks on the road -2.5. 215.5 is the total. We know no Trey, no Jalen Johnson for the Hawks as well tonight. And the Grizzlies as they have been basically fielding a G League team.
Yeah, I want no part of this, but I'd bet Atlanta either way.
I would bet Atlanta either way as well. Miami off the loss in Dallas last night into OKC tonight against the Thunder. Heat right now catching 8.5 in this game. 224.5 is the total.
I don't know how you play the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic and then go play this team the next night. Frankly, I think the Thunder run them out of the building tonight, and they just want to get out of there and just get it over with. Dallas, OKC back-to-back is, to me, it's just brutal. And no one can stop the Thunder, including Jimmy Butler. I love Bam and Butler, and I love Jaquez. I like this team. Even Robinson, I like Jack and threes. And I love Scary Terry at 27 last night. I don't know how you play those two teams back-to-back and not get rubbed out on the back end against a team this good.
That's a tough second night, that's for sure. Highlight game tonight everyone will have their eyes on is the Bucks at the Crypto in Los Angeles against the Lakers. Bucks -1.5. 230.5 is the total here. Now, several things, of course, to look at here. LeBron questionable, as he always is, but remember, he did leave that game early the other night. Also on the Bucks side, Giannis probable, Dame time questionable with a rib injury. So lots of stars on the injury report for the Bucks and the Lakers.
Yeah, I don't have a problem betting on the Bucks here in Los Angeles. It's obvious LeBron's got a bad ankle. I still think he'll play and whatever. But I think the Bucks have been playing really good basketball for the most part, 90% of the time since the All-Star break, and they're just flat out better than the Lakers.
They are flat out better than the Lakers so far, that's for sure. And finally, we have one more for you tonight. The Rockets are in Portland against the Blazers. So Rockets tonight, Scotty, minus the 8.5 here against Portland. Of course, Sengun has been red hot for them. 5.5, excuse me, Scotty. That's 5.5. 218.5 is the total.
I'll lay 5.5, easy money, and I'll go Sengun PRA over whatever the number is. I don't care if it's 5,000. I'm betting the over in a PRA. This guy right now is playing on another level. He is dealing every night and putting up gigantic numbers, and there is no one on that crappy Portland team that can even try to stop him.
There really isn't, that's for sure. And Portland, they have been covering some numbers, but those have been heavy numbers, like double-digit numbers. This is a little shorter tonight. I'm with you. We take the Rockets here in Portland in the Pacific Northwest.
So
All right, there
I
you
just
go.
have to say, we literally took Houston, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Minnesota, Orlando, Charlotte, and New Orleans. The only home team we bet on was Oak City.
Yeah, that's it. All the roadies tonight. Road Warriors here in the NBA for us on CNBC.
Roadhouse with Conor McGregor coming out soon.
Women's basketball, as a coach, as a basketball purist, is so much better to watch than the men. You don't believe me? Sit down, watch it for yourself. Think about the fact that the athleticism is different. So now you have to depend on your fundamental and your skill and not through athleticism.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe not a match that we thought would be the most enticing 6 months ago, but Newcastle, they are kind of on the ropes. They looked awful against Blackburn in the FA Cup.
Lamine Yamal's been the stand-up player, a guy that's 16 years old, a guy that was drafted in from La Masia, from the academy. It says a lot, really. It says a lot about the really poor standard of the rest of the players this season.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca, only on SportsGrid.
I think Boston's going to the NBA Finals, and at this point, I'm still willing to say this early that they're the best team in the NBA, even better, in my view, than the Nuggets.
Barkley, for me, I say the front runners would be the Dallas Cowboys and or the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think Jerry might get in on this and say just make it happen and get Saquon on our football team.
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High in the conference tournament games going on. Longwood's up 3 on Winthrop, the 5 over the 4 in the Big South with 7.5 left in the game. Belmont, first half, 4.5 left, up 2 on the 4 seed. Belmont, the 5 in the Missouri Valley, 24-22. Finals, High Point beat Radford in the Big South. Indiana State blew out Missouri State, 75-59. William and Mary blew out North Carolina A&T in the Colonial. And getting set to go, bottom of the hour, the 14 Hampton against the 11 Elon. Elon laying 4. And then at 5 in the Southern, the 9 Citadel taking on the 8 Mercer. Mercer was laying 4, now 4.5. If I've noticed one thing, Mike, yesterday and today, is that all the worst teams are winning and covering. All the bad seeded teams are covering and winning. Every one of them.
That covering 100%, and yeah, you're getting a lot of them outright as well. So a lot of these teams, and look, these are one bid leagues. So you've got some of these teams, they have these great regular seasons. You know, they go 15-2 in their conference. They're the 1 seed, and their season's over like that. I mean, that's it. No tournament, no nothing. And some lesser teams can end up getting their spot. That and the Indiana State team in the Missouri Valley, they're the ones that have the big kid with the goggles, right? That everybody loves.
Yeah.
The big fella. Everybody wants him because with these small teams, they also love the stories, right? They love the stories with the small teams because they can sell that.
What do they call him? Cream Abdul-Jabbar?
Cream Abdul-Jabbar, and he's a big fella, but he's got game, man. That kid could play. He's a big boy down low. I think they're going to have a problem when they get to the end if Drake is sitting there for them. But they got off to a good start here this afternoon against Missouri State. All right, I'm going to give you the rest for tonight. A couple of other things from last night first. We got Arizona. They had no problem whatsoever with UCLA. 88-65. They smoked them. You brought this up at the top. Washington State, who's been ranked here for the last couple of weeks. They're going to be in the tournament one way or the other, but if you thought they could maybe be a little sneaky, like that's a bad. You can't lose to Washington. I know that's a rivalry game. You're at home. Washington sucks this year, Scotty. You can't lose a game like that. I'm sorry.
Well, I think that they're going to the tournament, but they won't be ranked next week. You can't lose these games at home in Pullman against a 17-win team. Basically, that's like losing to Indiana. A real average team. Washington's really average, and they went in and beat them in Pullman. That's a bad look for the Cougs.
It certainly is. You have the other two teams that are on the bubble in the Pac-12 last night. One very good, one very bad. Colorado and Tad Boyle getting the win in Eugene straight up against Oregon. That will help their cause. And on the other side of the coin, Utah, who's right there. I think the course he told you yesterday, he had Utah and Colorado kind of both in that last four out, last four in kind of mix. Well, I don't think Utah's there anymore because you can't lose to Oregon State. They stink. I don't care if the game was in Corvallis.
We were on the Beavs at home in Corvallis with the 9.5, so we covered that. I never thought they'd win, and they did easily. They won by 7. So the thing that I wanted to say about Oregon is that I think that's the end of the road for Dana Altman in Eugene. I think they're an 18-win team. They're so average, it's not even funny. And they lose at home to Colorado by 4. Any way you slice it, it's optically bad for Altman. There's been a lot of talk about him retiring and getting out with his head held high. And I think that was the invitation for that last night. Losing to Colorado at home last night. And let me tell you something. If they get into the NCAA tournament inexplicably, they're not winning anything. They'll lose their first game.
Yeah, that awful performance by them, that's for sure. And yes, could be. He's been there a long time now.
It's over.
Could be time for a little bit of a change there in Eugene. Some of these other conference tournament who moved on. Colgate, Boston U, Bucknell, and Lehigh all advanced in the Patriot League tourney. One of those ones you mentioned earlier about upsets. What a gutless performance by American last night. We both liked American against Bucknell. I mean, they got their doors blown off in the second half of that game. They had no shot whatsoever. In the Horizon, Oakland, Cleveland State upset the Penguins of Youngstown State. Northern Kentucky upset Wright State in that tournament. And Milwaukee upset, albeit it was 1.5, upset Green Bay, which was my team I had at the 13-1. So all kinds of craziness in that Horizon with 4 teams left.
Yeah, but we hit the spreads on Oakland, Cleveland State, and Northern Kentucky. Yes. We lost the Green Bay spread. We bet on them -1.5, but we hit the other 3, so I'll take it.
Stetson and Austin P will play in the ASUN final. Did you see the kid on Stetson with the ice-cold 3 with 4 seconds left to give them the lead? They were down the entire second half against that Jacksonville team, and the kid ran up court and hit a bomb from the top of the key to send Stetson into the final.
Yeah, and Jacksonville's a terrible team. They were the 10 seed, and they pushed them around, so Austin P will beat them.
Austin P should beat them. You're right about that. Austin P's been very good in that conference. And Pepperdine beat Pacific 102-43. The story here was at halftime.
Holy snack.
It was 56-9 at the half. That was the score. That's embarrassing. We've seen some bad stuff. That's embarrassing.
And they're firing Romar. His next loss is his last game in Malibu. He's out the door at Pepperdine. So I bet on him tonight, and I laid, I think, 2.5. So we'll see if they can put 2 good games together in a row. Is that even possible after you put up $1-2 to go back to back and have a good game? I doubt it.
I was kind of thinking I haven't done it yet, but I wanted to go against him just because I feel like they emptied the clip last night, right? You have a game like that. You just completely empty the tank. That, of course, is at the Orleans in Vegas, is where they're playing those WCC games.
Paradise, Nevada. Out of the suburbs.
Yeah. The 11th ranked recruit in the country, Liam McNeely, is a traitor, Scotty. He was committed to Indiana, and now he's turning his back on Mike Woodson and the Hoosiers. What is the matter with this kid?
Well, look, he had, offers to go everywhere, Texas, being one of them, and he's from there. So what he should do is go play in Austin, and they don't matter in college basketball. And now he'll be in the SEC as opposed to the Big 12 if he plays for Texas. But here's the deal. I won't be surprised if other decommits happen with Indiana, because Indiana basketball right now is in a bad place. We've talked about it. I truly believe the news that, because this kid had said that no one recruited him like Woodson. And he said from day one, Indiana gave him the most love of any of his choices. And he had 5 or 6 big-time programs. And he chose Indiana because of the way they treated him. And I think he chose to decommit because he watched Mike Woodson coach Indiana into the ground this year. They suck. So this kid's like, man, that doesn't look fun at all. Those dudes are not having fun. And none of them are listening to him in the huddle. I told you this stuff. These kids, they know this. Like, I saw a kid the other day in high school lose a big sectional championship game. And I know the kid. He's a great player. He's unguardable. He's going to play D1. He wouldn't shake anyone's hand after the game. He just walked out of the gym and got in his car and drove off. He literally, in his uniform, got in his car and drove off. And they were so mad at him that he wouldn't shake anyone's hand. And he said, I'm finished. My career's over there. I'm done with these losers. And he left. And that's what these kids are like now. They beat to their own drum. They don't listen to coaches. And if they don't like where they are, they transfer in 5 seconds. Basketball and college sports will never be the same, Mike. It's never going to be what you knew it as. It's been ruined.
Nope.
Just like boxing has been ruined.
It's been ruined. It's really bad.
Boston's going to the NBA Finals, and at this point, I'm still willing to say this early that they're the best team in the NBA, even better, in my view, than the Nuggets.
Barkley, for me, I say the front runners would be the Dallas Cowboys and or the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think Jerry might get in on this and say just make it happen and get Saquon on our football team.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The books are treating the Celtics 4 points better at minimum than maybe every single team in the NBA. And so far, I believe they've covered every game since the break.
The Celtics' strict goal here, anything less than a finals appearance and a finals championship is going to be a failure for the Celtics. They got all the pressure in the world across the board here.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The brighter the lights, the bigger the stakes. Hunt or be hunted. Know your prey. This is a whole new jungle. This is The Lion's Share. Brought to you by BetMGM.
So I just wanted to go back to what you were saying, Carver High, real quick, that you don't think if Indiana State meets Drake that they can beat Drake in a title game, because I just want to look at, when they played. They beat them, you're right, they beat them 89-78. I want to see, but then they lost to them 75-67. So which is it? So I think Indiana State can beat them. I think they can beat them.
They could beat them, sure. They split in the regular season. I just like Drake, if they met in a title game, being a little bit more experienced team. Won the title last year, lost that tough game to Miami in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I just like Drake in that spot if we end up getting there.
Carver High can give me no love at all in the Hoosier State. My Hoosiers stink, and he won't even give me the Sycamores. He's pulling for Drake in this tournament, and it's very unfortunate. By the way, you got to get in on BetMGM right now. You got to get the app, because it's the greatest thing ever since sliced bread. Because listen to this. If you use the bonus code SG150, they're going to give you 150 clams, 150 bonus bet dollars instantaneously once you open an account on iOS or Android or at BetMGM.com. Open the account, put $5 in it, start the account, make $5 bet, standard odds on anything. And BetMGM's just going to fork over 150 in bonus bets for you to get your life rolling. Imagine this. You hit the $5 bet, and then they give you 150, and then you got you might even have $175 when you start your account. You'll be loving life. You'll be telling your friends to do it, and then they'll sign up, and then they'll tell 10 friends, and so on, and Vidal Sassoon. All right, Coach, you heard the Carver High prediction that Drake will handle Indiana State at any level in the tournament if they meet in the final.
I don't know, man. What's that dude? What's that big boy's name?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You call him white boy Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you can't go wrong. Listen, this Indiana State team, first time they've been ranked since the days of Larry Bird. If you look at somewhere like Bracket Matrix, which breaks down all the brackets, right? Right now they have them as an 11 seed, just ahead of Richmond. But interestingly enough, they have them behind a team like St. John's, who still has some work to do. So, yeah, it would be important for them to keep winning, but it would be a great story for the Hoosier State if Indiana State got in. We know Purdue's getting in. We damn well sure know. Sorry, Ferrall. Indiana Hoosiers are not making the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, we're not going to the tournament. They don't deserve to go to the tournament. They shouldn't even go to the NIT. What they should do is go wash off. What did you think of the kid McNeely saying, I'm not going to Indiana? He decommitted. He'll probably end up at Texas. He had a lot of big offers. I said earlier, he just looked at the program. He could see failure. He could see kids not having a good time. He could see them not paying attention. He said they recruited him better than anybody. Woodson and his staff treated him better than anybody, but he saw the goods on the floor in the Big Ten this year, and he decommitted. And I wouldn't be surprised they lose other commits.
Well, Funky Cole Medina ain't getting it done. That'd be Tone Look for you guys that don't know about Tone Look back in the day. Ferrall and I know what we're talking about here. We're talking about Woody. But here's the thing. You get all that NIL money. And if I'm not mistaken, Ferrall, I don't think Indiana has a 2024 commit. How the hell in this day and age, with NIL, with a tradition as rich as Indiana, with that basketball in the state of Indiana, where you can't have one high school commit? It's very simple, folks. The kid waited. And as much as he loved Woodson, as soon as they said Woodson was coming back, Ferrall, the kid turned around and decommitted, if I'm not mistaken. Happened the same day. So to me, that's a crazy thing, because you would think the kid would assure his commitment, right? And then it would make people say, okay, what do you say if he's got this 5-star kid? But it happened in a weird way where the kid almost got what he wanted and then decommitted. I'll tell you this, folks. As someone that's been involved in college basketball, and Ferrall knows this kid probably got so many other deals for NIL money through his handler, through his AAU people, that he knows as soon as he decommitted, there was more money, Ferrall, somewhere else. Let's be honest.
So last night, this guy, Anthony Edwards, put on a show. He was swatting shots. He won the game for him. He put up 40-plus. He swatted away the final kiss off the glass by the Pacers at the buzzer to try to tie it, send it to overtime. He was unbelievable. Then I watched this guy, Luka, put on a show like he always does. And the aggravation I have, as you know, with his crying and whining. And then I got to listen to his coach today on SportsGrid talk about how grateful he was that he didn't get a technical for 2 games in a row. But if you watched that game last night, he deserved a technical in that game. He was just cussing out refs the whole game. And they don't even tech him up now because he's got so much juice, because he's really the white boy face of the NBA already. Triple doubles every night. That's who they want, is the face of the league. They don't want Jaylen Brown. They don't want the brother. It's just that simple. The NBA, underneath it all, wants the white boy, and he gets his way, and he can scream and cuss at refs all night, and nothing happens. And then I watch this kid, Ant Edwards, who does everything he does, and more exciting, I might add, and he never cries and complains.
Well, it's amazing because, Ferrall, if you think back, folks, we're going to go back, take a history lesson. If you go back to the 80s, right, when Magic and Bird came in, they were starving. If you remember the late 70s, the NBA, it was too many brothers. You know, they called the Knickerbockers. I'm not going to tell you what they called them in the 70s because they had an all-black team, and they wanted a white superstar, and they had it in Larry Bird. If you think about it, like this isn't Steve Nash. Like, this guy is like a top 5 player in the sport. Right. I just wish he didn't complain and act like a crybaby. But listen, we could go on record. LeBron, crybaby. Kevin Durant at times, crybaby. So it's not just Luka. But I will say this. I am so happy. Before you brought him up, you brought up, obviously, Ant-Man. And this dude needs to have his flowers because he is up there in Minnesota with the best record in the NBA, the Western Conference, getting you 26.4, 5.2, 5.1, playing great defense, and he's a stone-cold killer. If this guy played in New York, if he played in LA, if he played in Dallas, if he played in Miami, if he played in Chicago, you'd be calling him, he'd be one of the top 3 players in the NBA. Where he plays is why he doesn't get what he gets. But I'm telling you, if he could do some of this in the playoffs, you will be talking about Anthony Edwards. I had him top 7 on my list of best players in the NBA. You could argue next year, Ant-Man could be a top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah, and A-Rod and his partners aren't stupid enough to let him get out of Minneapolis. He's not going anywhere. He's basically Kevin Garnett until further notice. Like, he's going to be there like Marbury and Garnett were there for a long time before they got their way and got out of there. And Marbury came to New York, and then KG went to Boston. They were there for a long time. I think he's stuck there for a long time, whether he likes it or not.
I think so too, Ferrall. And if you think about it, listen, you can say what you want about A-Rod, about the steroids, all that stuff. The guy is a megastar. He is known internationally, and he's got that New York swag, right? That New York grit. So to me, having an owner like A-Rod only increases the chances of Ant staying there because A-Rod can draw businesses and people there. He is a phenomenal talent. And now with them is they just got to get Cat healthy. They got to hope that he gets healthy before the playoffs starts because I'll say this, Ferrall, between them and Oklahoma City, I think they have a better chance to go deeper because the one thing they do really well that no one talks about, Ferrall, they're one of the best, if not the best metric team defensively in the NBA. Big Rudy's been really good. Look for guys like Jaden McDaniels and particularly the pride of St. Anthony, Kyle Slow-Mo Anderson to step up in Cat's absence. But don't expect Ant Edwards to go anywhere. He's an absolute star.
So you think that game in Indy took some gas out of them tonight, and you're going to go with the Cavs on the money line over them in Cleveland, even with all their guys out?
Well, everything I just said, I'm still going to go with Cleveland on the money line tonight. I know they got guys out, but to me, you look at a situation where that took a lot out of them. Rest advantage for Cleveland. They got to travel on the road. I know going from Indiana to Cleveland is very close. It's like the next state over. I get it. Ferrall, they're still not getting their beds until 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm taking a chance here. Give me Cleveland on the money line tonight at home.
I only care about that if it's a veteran old team. I don't care about that if it's a young team with young players. I don't think Minnesota has a problem with that naked Cleveland team tonight. Magic and Knicks, I'm with you on this. That total went so low.
Yeah, so low can you go? How low can you go? So low that me and Ferrall are going with the overtime. Folks, this is just crazy town, how low this number is. I know these are two of the better defensive teams in the NBA. It's just way too low, Ferrall. This thing gets to at least 210. I'm going to go over 204, 205 and a half.
I said Sengun tonight, PRA. I don't care if it's 5,000. I'm going over, and I'm with you on the Rockets at the Moda.
I am with you. And listen, Alperen Sengun, I will say this, should be talked about more as the most improved player in the NBA. Minus the points on the road at Portland. I get it. But listen, they've gone 3-0-1 against the spread the last 4 games. They get it done tonight.
And then you like the Bucks, so do I, in LA at the Crypt.
After they got beat down by 30, if they got any kind of pride tonight, they go into LA and they will, ready for this, roll the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, Coach, I'll see you tomorrow 1-3 and Sunday 1-3. If you like hoops, hang out with Coach and yours truly on Saturday and Sunday.
The Lion's Share, presented by BetMGM.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, so Davis Lee Roth-Matic joins us every day on Coast to Coast. You can catch him tomorrow on Fantasy Sports Today with Scoop Mish at 7 a.m. Eastern on SportsGrid and on our radio affiliates. Also, after that show, he does this amazing soccer show if you're into football, and he knows his soccer, and he also knows there's a great one on Sunday morning at Etihad as Pep Guardiola and Man City take on your boy Krupp and Liverpool. It doesn't get any better than that match on Sunday morning in the Premier, let alone if they were in the final of the Champions League.
No, I mean, it actually doesn't get any better. This is basically more or less the Super Bowl of the English Premier League season. Very tight game. Obviously, Manchester City is going to be very slight favorite at home. But, I mean, this is sort of, it's really not even that good of a comparison to American sports because Klopp and Guardiola, they are the two biggest guys in European soccer. Liverpool's team is getting pretty healthy. They've been pretty banged up heading in to this game. They've got Mohamed Salah back. He's been injured. He came out for a little bit on Thursday to play. Right now, Liverpool on the money line is plus 190. City is plus 125. Obviously, remembering that it's a three-way money line. I'm going to be locked up there early at 11:45 Eastern watching this game. I am hoping that both teams really go for it because as of right now, these are the two teams that are first and second in the table in the Premier League. I think probably actually Liverpool is going to go for it harder than Manchester City will. I think that, granted, there's only 10 games left in the season. We are over 2/3 of the way done. So I think it behooves both teams to go for it, but I will be locked in on Sunday morning for this game.
So Klopp's done. He's finished when it's over. So it's the end of the road for him. That's amazing in itself. And then this guy Guardiola, I watched the documentary, I don't know, on Prime or whatever it was
All or
on.
Nothing.
I got to tell you, I thought it was fascinating. It was like, and I have zero interest in Man City, and I don't care about any of that stuff. But I like fascinating stories, and I like documentaries, and I like seeing what it's like. And I got to tell you, I thought watching the story of that guy, Guardiola, the way he coaches and plans and the way he strategizes and the way they run that franchise, it was like I was watching a documentary on the New York Yankees in all of history. Like, being a Yankee is different than whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, they are the champagne of Major League Baseball. And that's just all there is to it. And so if you play for the New York Yankees at any point, you experience this stuff like Jeter did, right? And others, many others, Mantle, Ruth, it goes on and on, DiMaggio. And then when I watched the Man City thing, I felt like I was watching a reflection of that. I was watching the greatest franchise in the world in football. You could say it's Barca, you could say it's Madrid, you could say it's Liverpool. But when I watched that, I thought, wow, Man City is the deal now.
Yeah, 2024, there's absolutely no question. They are the standard to which everyone else applies themselves. Every team, every serious team in world football tries to emulate what they do. Pep Guardiola starts doing something a year later, 2 years later, you start seeing other teams begin to emulate them. One of the things that he really brought to world football was just the idea that and it sounds so simple that almost you would laugh hearing it, but when you have the ball, when your team possesses the ball, that means that the other team doesn't have it, right? And if I was really to try and explain to an American audience the coaching philosophy of Pep Guardiola, that would be it. That would be, as long as you have the ball, you are not conceding goals, you are not conceding shots, you cannot lose if you have the ball. Now, obviously, critics of his would say, that in and of itself is not enough of a philosophy to just have the ball. You got to be doing more things with. And sometimes when you watch Manchester City, there's a little bit of, you'll know this one, the very famous Simpsons scene where they all go to the soccer game and they're just passing it back and forth,
Right.
and that's the entire match. You do get a little bit of that. And something that I think, weirdly enough, I think that Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp's teams are very interesting to Americans, because what do we as Americans want to see? We want to see the action. We want heavy metal football. We want clashes. We want collisions. And Liverpool gives us a little bit more of that, which is, that's why these games are so great. That's why Liverpool versus Manchester City has been such an awesome rivalry, because they don't really approach things the same way. Klopp's teams are really the only teams that go into these games against City trying to punch them in the mouth. And that, I think that's for sure what they're going to do on Sunday. They're not going to let City just have the ball. They are going to be up in their grills the entire game.
So how is it that those two teams get all the greatest players in the world on their rosters, and all these other teams like Arsenal and all the rest of them, West Ham, I could go on and on, Aston Villa, I could go down the list of all these teams. How is it that they have this class of rosters, and then the others just seem to have average talent compared to them? Is it not based on caps like in America? Like, how do they get away with having so many great stars?
No cap, man. Football, you spend what you make. If your organization makes $5 billion, you can spend it. You make $10 billion, you could pay Kylian Mbappe, Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. You could pay them $1 billion to play for you.
That's crazy.
You want it? Yeah.
That's not
look,
fair.
it is crazy. No, it's not fair. And so UEFA has tried to implement this thing called financial fair play, which it sounds like it would be. It's not really fair, actually. It's actually not at all. And then not only that, but it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So even a team like Newcastle actually got bought by the Saudis, right?
Right.
But they don't have as good of players as Manchester City, because no one wants to go play for them because they're not the champions yet. It ends up being this thing in soccer where if you're not great yet, you can't have great players because they won't want to come play for you.
Well, that's just stupid. And
Yeah,
I got to tell you that that's not the way, in my view, at all, to run a sport where it's top heavy and everyone else is screwed. I just see how there's nothing good that comes of that at all, except for the haves. The have-nots have nothing. All right, let's talk about Paul Skeens. It really frustrates me. I guess I understand at some level why they're doing it. A lot of guys, I was hearing Riley talk the other day, when I was in low A, when I came up with Acuna, and we were playing in the minors and everything, everybody has to go through it. But at some level, when you have a pitcher as talented as this guy, and he throws 102 miles an hour, I think I said to you yesterday before we did it today, I said, when's his arm going to blow out in the minors? Is he ever going to make it to the majors before his arm blows out because he throws 102 miles an hour on every pitch? Are they making a mistake not starting this superstar pitcher in the majors when their team is as awful and pathetic as it is?
What is the point? I mean, Scotty, truly, what is the point? Paul Skeens, he's only got so many bullets, man. There are only so many pitches that he's got in his arm. I mean, we actually just had another report today. I believe it was The Athletic. They talked to a bunch of surgeons, physical therapists, and guys on strength and conditioning staffs in Major League Baseball, basically being like, these pitchers are, one, we already know this. Pitching is not something that like the average human can do without getting injured over a long period of time. So we know Paul Skeens probably in his career, he's probably going to get hurt. He probably is going to have Tommy John. Something is going to happen to him at some point where he's going to have a surgery on that arm. So why would you waste these pitches that he's got in his arm in the minor leagues? I actually wanted to give a compliment to my boy, Scoop Mish's Miami Marlins. They're one of the best teams in baseball at this. They have a 19-year-old who's throwing fire in spring training who looks like he's good. Guess what? That guy's coming up to the bigs because they know. They've had so many good pitchers over the last 10 years. They know the deal. They get a good pitcher, that guy's throwing in the major leagues because they know he's only got so many innings before he's going to get hurt.
Do you think they're making a mistake?
Yes, this is a huge mistake. I mean, imagine how mad they're going to be if they keep him down there for 6 weeks. He's throwing 80 pitches a game or whatever. He's smoking, he's doing the best he can, and he gets injured. And it doesn't even have to be the big injury, right? It doesn't have to be the Tommy John. It doesn't have to be a tear. Could be the dude hurts his hamstring. Could be the dude, because pitching is so...
Whatever.
Forearm, anything. I mean, it's a nightmare. And it's not like Paul Skeens is not one of these guys coming out of high school. This guy is 21 years old. He's about to turn 22. He's right about the age. Yes. What are we doing? Get this guy. Call him up. There's not even the penalty for keeping him down anymore. Well, I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
He is the best pitcher that has come along in baseball since Strasburg. Is that accurate to say? And this lousy franchise, which I have watched my entire life, they're so pathetic that they can't. I mean, what is wrong with them? It makes what are they? What are they doing? All right, I'm going to get angry, so I'm going to change the subject. So you think the Lakers are going to beat the Bucks tonight at the Crypt? And what gives you that idea?
Well, I more just wanted to talk about this line. It's so bizarre. How does it make sense for the line to be Bucks by 1.5 in Los Angeles with LeBron playing on a wonky ankle? It only makes sense, I guess, if Giannis plays but Dame doesn't, or Dame plays and Giannis doesn't, but LeBron and AD both play. So anytime I'm looking at a weird, fishy line by that 1.5 for the Lakers here at home, I think I'm just taking the Lakers because there's something going on with that line that says the Bucks starting lineup is getting disrupted somehow.
So you're on the Thunder to win the Western Conference at 6-1 odds. I hope to see the Thunder against Denver because I frankly, and I know what Minnesota's done and everything else, and I know there's all these good teams in the West. Do you think they can actually pull it off, get to the Western Final, and somehow they're young and dumb enough to beat Joker and that team with Gordon, Porter, and Murray?
Man, I don't know if they can beat them head to head, but I feel very good that the Clippers and the Timberwolves are not going to get through. I'm selling the Clippers. I watched the Clippers lose to the Bucks without Giannis the other night. Any Clippers stock I bought, I'm selling it. I'm over them. I don't think they have what it takes to get through. And I also think the Timberwolves are just they are so thin now without 36 minutes a night from Karl Anthony Towns. So I think it's almost going to be kind of easy for the Thunder to get the 1 seed. And they'll be 2-1 dogs against the Nuggets in the conference finals, but at much better price than we're getting right now, I think.
And you like them tonight against Miami after Miami had to have that tough game in Dallas last night?
I never bet against the Heat. It's just kind of against my my personal code of ethics. I think Spoelstra's too good of a coach. I never do it.
Yeah, you would have lost money last night because the 5.5 didn't cut the mustard as Luka got all the calls in the second half, and he put on a show. All right, great stuff. Davis Lee Rothmatic. Check him out tomorrow on Fantasy Sports Today and the Soccer Show back-to-back on the Grid.
women's basketball, as a coach, as a basketball purist, is so much better to watch than the men. You don't believe me? Sit down, watch it for yourself. Think about the fact that the athleticism is different. So now you have to depend on your fundamental and your skill and not your athleticism.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe not a match that we thought would be the most enticing 6 months ago, but Newcastle, they are kind of on the ropes. They looked awful against Blackburn in the FA Cup.
Lamine Yamal's been the standout player, a guy that's 16 years old, a guy that was drafted in from La Masia, from the academy. It says a lot, really. It says a lot about the really poor standard of the rest of the players this season.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca, only on SportsGrid.
I think Boston's going to the NBA Finals, and at this point, I'm still willing to say this early that they're the best team in the NBA, even better, in my view, than the Nuggets.
Largely, for me, I say the front runners would be the Dallas Cowboys and or the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think Jerry might get in on this and say, just make it happen and get Saquon on our football team.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's time for another exciting edition of Today in Carver High History.
It certainly is. We'll start in 1966 today. Major League Baseball player and coach Casey Stengel is elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in a surprise ceremony. They surprised him, putting him in. Didn't have to go through one of those backdoor committees like everyone has to go through nowadays. 1971, Joe Frazier ends Muhammad Ali's 31-fight winning streak when he retains the heavyweight championship of the world. Unanimous decision, 15 rounds. They called it the fight of the century between Ali and Joe Frazier. 1971, the Milwaukee Bucks set a team record when they win their 20th game in a row. 1986, Martina Navratilova is the first tennis player to ever earn $10 million. Wow. Djokovic made that last year alone. In 2019, U.S. women's national soccer team sued the U.S. Soccer Federation for equal pay by filing a federal gender discrimination lawsuit. Took a long time, but they won. 2022, reigning NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers agrees to remain with the Packers in a reported 4-year, $200 million deal that makes him the highest paid player in NFL history at the time. Of course, that's been passed several times over now, and he's not even in Green Bay anymore. He's a member of the New York Jets, and he's only played 4 snaps for them.
That lasted 1 year. That big 4-year, $200 million deal lasted 1 year. So just know this. NFL teams can cut players whenever they want. Contracts mean absolutely nothing. Secondly, I just wanted to get it right. Davis Maddock, that Pro League Soccer show, I think, is at 8 tomorrow on SportsGrid. And then I think after that is Fantasy Sports Today. That's what I've been told. Hopefully you can catch both shows. The soccer show at 8 to 9, and then with Scoop Mish, they do Fantasy Sports Today, I think at 9 to 11. I could be wrong. And then I do the show with Coach at 1 to 3. I forget the name of that show. I can't keep track of all this stuff that they have me promote. I can't. I've lost track. I got early Ferrall's Alzheimer's. I'm a little crazy.